In Sumeru City, the Light of Ksharewar is a famous name that has stuck to many scholars in the Akademiya. Rightfully so, it's a reminder of the hard work and determination that has become a stuff of dreams among the students. Dubbed to a renowned architect in the region, this individual has steadily climbed among his peers to reach to the top. His name is Kaveh, an alumni of Ksharewar Darshan, currently working as a designer and is considered by many as the best architect to ever exist in the industry. While many people idolize his fame and status as a renowned architect, his story, however, isn't quite that simple, as his success reflects from his perseverance as well as to conquer the fears he had experienced in his childhood. Having struggled during his early life, he set out a goal for his family and for himself. First appearing at the end of the Sumeru Arc in Quest, he easily charmed many Genshin players, and cannot wait for more screen time in the story. Because his banner is coming this week, how about we talk about his backstory and how he rose to this level of reputation among his peers. Firstly, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Project Z, for partnering with us to showcase the rap in our video. Project Z is a creative way to interact with people, allowing you to share your various skills and talents, and even partake in live parties where you get to participate and meet some unique individuals. One thing that is pretty cool about this app is that it gives you all the tools that you need to enhance your virtual experience. One being an option called Circles. This feature allows you to join your special group. For example, I joined a group called Genshin Impact. You can find all the content that there is about the game, like fan art, cosplays, fanfics, and whatever that is, and so many more. This was one of the special features I liked when I first downloaded the app. It gives you a way to interact with a fan base that you also have an interest in. Now, earlier I mentioned another option called live parties. You get to host online calls, partake in a handful of awesome activities, and enjoy a fun, safe environment while also having fun with a lot of people online. I can't explain every single thing that Project Z offers, but I honestly enjoyed using this app and for a short time got used to its user interface and just enjoyed looking at memes, people showcasing their incredible artworks, and just interacting with more people online. If you're interested in giving Project Z a go, register now and use our code Clement to automatically be a part of the community. We can also host live events there, talk about anything, and do all sorts of random things. Once again, thank you so much Project Z for sponsoring us. Now, let's get back to the video. Being the prominent designer that he is, Kaveh's inspiration to become one was from his mother. Born in Sumeru City, Kaveh's parents were both scholars from the Sumeru Akademiya. His mother, Farahnak, was also a famous architect who graduated from the Ksharewar, while his father was from the Rightfully Darshan. Growing up, Kaveh had become interested in architecture, thanks in large part to his mother. His childhood days were happy, as this was when he grasped the idea of home. However, unfortunate events soon started when his father lost in the Inter-Darshan Championship. While his father was the favorite to win the said competition, he would miss this opportunity and did not take the loss quite well. His father was so ashamed that he refused to go home and went missing for a few days. Soon, the news of his father's death arrived, quickly turning their lives upside down. His father was caught in an accident in the desert, and with this news, his mother broke down mentally and emotionally. As for Kaveh, he continuously blamed himself for his father's death, as he was the one who convinced him to join the Inter-Darshan Championship, thinking that if he had just held his tongue that day, such events wouldn't have occurred. His last memory of his father was his laugh and promised to bring something nice back for him walking out the door. After this, Farahnak was so grief-stricken that she couldn't draw anything to continue her work as an architect. In fact, Kaveh would often find his mother sitting on the sofa, staring at her trembling hands in silence. Without any source of mora to provide for their food and other needs, Kaveh did his best to provide for himself and his mother. It continued until he finally passed the entrance exam in the Sumeru Akademiya and enrolled in the Ksharewar Darshan, the same school as his mother. While he was busy studying, Farahnak often traveled to Fontaine and tried to forget the painful memories of her husband's passing. Until one day, Farahnak was offered a job there, which she quickly accepted. Despite Kaveh knowing he would be left alone in Sumeru City, he still wished for his mother's happiness while leaving the place that gave her the worst memories in her life. Years later, Kaveh graduated, but with no one to share his life success, not even his mother, who was still in Fontaine. Eventually, Kaveh soon learned the news that his mother had wanted to start a new family in Fontaine, and would soon leave the house and her other possessions to him. While this news surprised Kaveh, he could not do anything to change his mother's decision. As a response, he wrote back saying that he would travel to Fontaine and attend his mother's wedding. Seeing his mother smile one last time, Kaveh went back home to Sumeru City, to their old house, which was now under his care. It hit him that mother was now happy in another place, leaving him alone in Sumeru City. The worst thing is that it saddened Kaveh to the point that he didn't want to remember any further mention of it, as he could only swallow the reality shown to him. Soon, his understanding of home and his outlook on life changed. Still, despite his sad past, he continues to be busy, and one day ease the pain of both his parents' passing. Kaveh was a student under the Ksharewar Darshan, learning as an architect tasked with numerous sketches and designs. During his time in the Sumeru Akademiya, he was often busy with projects where he and his fellow students would visit numerous ruins scattered all over Sumeru. At one point, he and his classmates encountered some danger while visiting a ruin. Suddenly, there was a cave-in, nearly killing 2 of his classmates. Luckily, Kaveh saved them by pushing them out of the tomb and escaped with minor injuries. While he wanted to continue this project, his classmates were traumatized by this incident and refused to go further. This saddened Kaveh as he was willing to continue for the sake of achieving results. Then eventually, he met Alhaitham, a student of the Ksharewar Darshan. Kaveh first met this junior student in the library and spoke to him out of curiosity. Because both displayed academic excellence in their respective schools, they quickly became close friends, despite having different personalities and insights about academics. The two even decided to work on a thesis regarding both architecture and linguistics. They named it Decoding the Runes and Architectural Philosophy of the Ruins of King Deshret's Civilization. While others tried to join in finishing this thesis, they eventually backed out because they could not keep up with Kaveh and Alhaitham's talents for academic excellence. It's quite funny to me that the other students realized that their contributions were nowhere near the level of the two, and it shows their genius minds. Now, the drama between them started when the two had conflicting insights about their fellow students backing out from their thesis. To quote Alhaitham, "I believe that certain matters have their upper limit determined by talent and their lower bound determined by hard work. He believes that certain students have limits, and one should not try to fit into a group to which they do not belong." As for Kaveh, he disagrees with his friends' thoughts and believes that their fellow classmates were hindered by obstacles, and that everyone deserves to uncover wisdom. Their endless debate continued until Kaveh had enough, thinking that he regretted making friends with Alhaitham. The two never finished their thesis, and each tore apart their copy, with Kaveh regretting it in the future. While the two would still face off against each other in future academic journals, their unfinished thesis contributed a large part to decoding many ancient texts, as well as improving the structures of the buildings in Sumeru. They were even rewarded by the Akademiya of an opportunity to each co-own a house, but at that time, Kaveh refused while Alhaitham was the only one who accepted the offer. Over the next few years, Kaveh finally reached his final term in the Akademiya and graduated with high honors. From here, his point towards life would soon change as he begins to face his greatest challenges yet. Now, following his graduation from the Akademiya, Kaveh immediately began accepting projects. He began working under one of his seniors, assigned as the lead designer in this cooperative project. This was his debut in making his visions into reality. Unluckily, they worked Kaveh to the bone daily, constantly being ordered around like a pack animal. However, with his idealistic nature, he continued to spend all his energy on his work, even shouldering the load of his fellow students, and he did this for 2 whole years. Eventually, he gained enough work experience and soon started pursuing his own projects. Clients began approaching him, requesting his architectural designs, which he would deliver. For a while, He earned a fair amount of mora, but soon became overwhelmed by the stress given by his projects and the clients' lack of acknowledgement of the arts. While his career started off pretty well, it didn't take long until his clients' requirements became increasingly difficult. Because of the changes in the academic trend, courtesy of the 6 sages in the Sumeru Akademiya, Kaveh's career goals were becoming more irrelevant. Suddenly, his clients wanted project designs that lacked style or flair. His proposed ideas of having both aesthetic beauty and practicality were being rejected and were even ridiculed. While Kaveh was upset by this, once again, he could do nothing, as his life and his basic needs depended on complying with the clients' requests and their projects. He became exhausted because his creative visions were being discarded, and little by little had realized that what Alhaitham pointed out all those years ago in the Akademiya was becoming more accurate. He became resentful of his work, even taking a long vacation to relieve himself from the stress. Upon returning to Sumeru City, he suddenly saw a small figure waiting for him at his home. This was Dori, and she wanted Kaveh to build her a magnificent palace, having only 2 conditions: large and extravagant. Quite a reflection of her character. She did not mind which aesthetic design would be used, as long as she had a secluded place to conduct her business. Kaveh was shocked, because it was kind of rare to have this type of commission, and he quickly accepted Dori's offer. Picking the place for the palace and designing it to have gardens and a luxurious feel, Kaveh was excited to work as an architect again. He put all his creative designs into this palace, with Dori only drooling at the thought of her finished palace. Kaveh even asked advice from Tighnari about which flowers would go beautifully with the aesthetic of the palace and some other issues. Sadly, the project was stopped when the withering destroyed the progress of the building. This angered Dori, and she demanded Kaveh to immediately leave. Still, he insisted that he would finish the project no matter what. Selling his home and all his family possessions, Kaveh now had half the funds that were lost in the withering, while Dori filled in for the rest. With enough perseverance, the palace of Alcazazare was finally finished, leaving Kaveh bankrupt for some time. What's painful is that Kaveh did not earn a single mora on this project, and gave all he possessed to build a legendary palace that did not belong to him, even owing a debt to Dori for the payment behind the materials used. Following this, Kaveh went to Lombard's tavern to reflect on his life and current situation. From there, Lombard offered him a free seat and a few drinks. Repaying Lombard's kindness, Kaveh offered to redesign the 2nd floor of the Lombard Tavern, which we can see right now. This is all courtesy of Kaveh. Now, back to the story. Kaveh and Alhaitham had seen each other again, with Alhaitham knowing full well that something was troubling his friend. After sharing his frustrations, Kaveh went blackout from all the alcohol he drank. The following day, he found himself in his friend's house, not remembering that Alhaitham had dragged him from the tavern all the way back to the house. Because Kaveh no longer had a home, Alhaitham allowed him to stay under the condition that he would pay half the rent. From that point on, Alhaitham and Kaveh lived under one roof. Ironically, this was the same house that was offered by the Akademiya all those years ago. It was their reward for the major contributions that their thesis had given. Eventually, it became Kaveh's current home, living alongside his rival/longtime friend in the future. Kaveh's life soon became more manageable as he started to receive recognition for his works, especially renovating the landmark lighthouse of Port Ormos, modifying the port's elevators and cargo handling structures, and many more, with his only frustration being that of his housemate, Alhaitham. With Kaveh finally having a stable job, he would eventually meet with some of his old friends from the Akademiya, mostly hanging out in Lombard's tavern. At one time, he was invited by Sino to have dinner at Tighnari's place. That night, Kaveh continuously ranted to his host about Alhaitham and how it feels to be his roommate. It made Kale and Tighnari laugh and even irritated Sino because he didn't understand how Kaveh's rants were funnier than his quote-unquote jokes. Ending his story summary here, His character story was written well. Admittingly, I was sad when I first read about his past, his situation with his career, and the challenges and struggles he faced. It's impressive that Hoyoverse has created a backstory with which many players could relate. Now, before we end this video, I want to add a quick story behind his suitcase. From Kaveh's character stories, we can read the contents of his old sketchbook. It shows the major events that happened in his life, from being inspired by his mother, his first sketches as a young kid, his apology to his father, to meeting Alhaitham, referencing the thesis they made together, leaving the Sumeru Akademiya, designing Dori's palace, and eventually selling his home to secure funds, designing the second floor of Lumbut's tavern, until finally his suitcase. According to his skill information, this suitcase he named Merak was created by modifying ancient technology, and may have some other functions apart from mapping work. We could only guess that Kaveh could have obtained some Khaenri'ah technology, considering that Sumeru is near it. Another interesting story is how he received his vision. After failing to build Dori's palace, he went home and made a flatbread with the palace of Alcazarzarai as the model. As soon as he smashed it, his Dendro vision appeared before him. It stunned him because he was actually interested in the concept of visions even back when he was a student. And that's it. What do you think of Kaveh as a character? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and if you've hung around till the end and think it deserves one, give this video a like. Once again, my name is Clementine, and as usual, until the next one, be safe and stay tuned.